Avast scurvy sea dogs. Today we focus on pirates, a specific group of pirates, that being the Star Seekers, or some people know them more recently as the Star Raiders. Who are the top 10 members of this group? A lot of people were even surprised that there were 10 to begin with. That said, they appear in a number of different fictions, and not all members are in all fictions, but there are a ton of them. The top 10 members of the Star Seekers. That'll be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one hail, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And like I said, this is the top 10 Star Seekers. For those who don't know, I'm not planning on going into all of the fiction, but we have, the aligned continuity, which is probably its best known fiction, although Winged Universe had a lot of characters in it. I believe in the, and I'm just going to consult, I think in the Beast Wars Uprising and Winged Universe comics and stories, Cannonball is the recognized captain, but in the aligned continuity, which more recent fiction, I guess, has stuck with, the legendary Thundertron is kind of the captain of the group, the captain of the tidal wave, not that tidal wave. That's the name of his pirate boat. Long story short, when the Space Bridge network sort of collapsed, his planet got cut off. Resources ran out, there was infighting and stuff, so he ended up developing an intense hatred for Cybertron and Cybertronians. Along the way, he recruited a lot of members, and the whole goal was to go back to Cybertron and kind of wreak revenge, Autobot, Decepticon alike. In the kind of legacy ideology and that sort of fiction, the idea is that along the way, he is looking to recruit the Infernac universe rock dudes, as well as the Junkions to his crew. So some of these that appear on this list have strong ties to the Star Seekers. Some of them simply because the character sort of fits. It's a bit of a weird one. Fans voted. It's a bit of a weird one. We do have one honorable mention this time. Often referred to, I think, in the Winged Universe fiction as just the Hunter. It is actually Beast Wars, I hope I'm saying this right, Shakaract? I never know if I'm saying his name right. But yeah, I mean, he's a vicious hunter, basically. It is the recolor, for those that don't know, Beast Wars Rampage. He's a bad dude. He's a bad dude Predacon. But he is noted as one of the Star Seekers, and he is the only honorable mention that we have this time. Did not appear on the list at all. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do as we always do. We're going to kick things off with number 10, my friends. First. Coming in at number 10, we have a recent addition to the crew by way of this guy. That's right, it is Calcitron, I believe is how you say it. He's basically made of calcite, which is of course a rock mineral. And while Thundertron has been looking to kind of add to his ranks, a lot of the Infernac guys are like, we're not going to choose a side, we're our own dude. But somehow, someway, Calcitron got like conscripted into the crew of the tidal wave. He'll join the crew, go back with Thundertron to wreak havoc on Cybertron. Not a whole lot of fiction here. This is a reuse of the Magnus mold. I'd like to have this one, but I'm not in for the 3-pack. Recent addition to the crew, a dangerous addition to the crew. Calcitron takes the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9, we have Flame War. And man, what a weird character Flame War is for the edition here. And you might see me looking down because a lot of what I'm going to reference here comes from the Winged Universe, where basically, as vehement of a Decepticon as she is and believes in that cause, she's also like really treacherous, and like she's irresponsible. She will betray at a moment's notice if it suits her. She's discovered by Cannonball, who in the Winged Universe is the captain of the Star Seekers. And while she has never heard of the pirates and doesn't really want to join them, I mean, she's given some money, some energon chips, and other trinkets that wins her over. She joins the crew and kind of, follows along the pirate life, so to speak, all while thinking like, well, maybe there's a way for me to gain power, because she always looks to gain power. Long story short, she kind of stages a mutiny along with the ghost of Starscream. Starscream kind of takes over the body of Cannonball, and Cannonball's own spark is like trapped somewhere as like a prisoner. And she even ends up wearing like a modified version of Cannonball's helmet and starts talking like a pirate and embraces it all. For a short time, she's actually a captain, but really it's under the control and guise of Starscream. It's really, really wild. In the end, by the end, where is it? Yeah, she begins to talk and act like the captain, indicating that she would soon become the next in line of the pirates to bear the name of Cannonball. So she almost sort of loses her own identity, right? So, yeah, really weird addition, a treacherous addition, but you know what? Can you really trust a pirate? Maybe not. Flamemore takes the number 9 slot. At number 8, we have this. I know, it's Pounce. It's Transformers Prime Pounce, right? Sorta, kinda. It's the Pounce body type. In essence, what this really is the Dread Pirate crew, which is basically the, like, drones, the Viacon crew of the ship of the Tidal Wave. They will pillage, they will steal, they will fight, right? But if you think of Transformers Prime and the Decepticons, of course there were a few main characters that were the upper echelon, and the crew was made up of Viacons. In, I want to say 2014 at BotCon, there was a Pounce and Wingspan 2-pack that used the deluxe class, the excellent, by the way, deluxe class Viacon mold, and some people tried to vote for Pounce and Wingspan. That's two different ones. So in essence, I'm saying Pounce here, but it's not actually the character of Pounce. It's his body type. In fact, the known ones that use Pounce's body type that are named members of the crew include Cutback, Dry Dock, Neurotoxin, Rolling Thunder, Storm Charge, and Wheel Lock. Those, not for nothing, that use the Flying Viacon, right, the Air Viacon mold, the Wingspan mold, if you will, include Boltcaster, Lockpick, Sky Duster, Thunderclap, and Turbo Lift. So those and a lot more. So I'm going to call this Pounce, but really it's the Pounce body type that takes the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7, we have another recent addition to the crew by way of Road Pig. And Road Pig is an important addition to the crew for two reasons. One, because his general characterization has always been like kind of like a dolt, a moron, but he's also like strong and a brute and a bruiser and a fighter. So he fits in on a pirate crew really well. Maybe not as the leader, but fits in on the crew well. This iteration, the Legacy United iteration, is a Junkion. And my understanding is that the whole point of him being included here is that he would recruit other Junkions. I actually use him as part of my Junkosaurus at this point, which is why I don't have him here in hand. So he was sort of recruited not only to be a fighter, but because he could bring in other Junkions for Thundertron to use. Kind of brilliant, kind of manipulative, but definitely something that fits a pirate. And he takes the number 7 slot. Coming in at number 6, we go back to G1 and Action Masters with Axer, yeah. Now, here's what's funny. In fiction, Axer was never identified as an Action Master, never lost his ability to transform. So, like, his turbo cycle that the Action Master version came with is actually his alt mode. In the Winged Universe, Axer was basically on the run from DevCon, even though he was kind of known to be a, much like Death's Head, a freelance, like, peacekeeping agent. He's a bounty hunter, right? In running away from DevCon, basically, he fears for his life. He joins the crew of the Star Raiders because there's strength in numbers and there's protection in numbers. He's always kind of looking for information, advice, and approval from Farak. And even during a battle, he, I think along with Brimstone, if I'm not mistaken, act as the gunners on the Tidal Wave ship. So he's a skilled I guess, I don't want to say marksman, because he doesn't have that level of skill, but he's definitely able to, you know, target and fight and use the weaponry and the accoutrement of the tidal wave quite well. He's a valuable member, even if a bit of a coward and not the smartest. What he makes up for in skill is why he's valued by Thundertron, or Cannonball, depending on your continuity. Either way you cut it, he fits right in because he likes the strength in numbers and the comfort in numbers. Axe or takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever-coveted, ever-popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark today, we actually have an X-Star Seeker on the list. And it's one that we have gotten a version of recently that a lot of people were a bit baffled by why he was included, and it's this guy. That's right, Lockdown. And when we think of Lockdown, we think of him as, of course, a bounty hunter, right? He does his own thing. He's kind of aligned with no one. We also typically know him, especially from animated, as being a bit of a hodgepodge made up of parts and pieces because that's how he keeps himself alive. Well, the original idea was that Lockdown was considered to be an X-Star Seeker and was left for dead at some point during one of the battles. He got left behind and repaired himself with bits and pieces and keeps upgrading himself with bits and pieces. A lot like Shadow Striker, honestly. And I guess in Legacy United they said, hey, let's go back a little bit in time before he was an X-Star Seeker to when he was an actual Star Seeker, and that's why he's included, not only on this list, but been included in the recent Legacy United capsule. Yeah, Lockdown, a bit of an odd entry, but he takes the number 5 slot. And now here at the top 4, I actually have versions of these guys, because number 4 is Filch. And why is Filch here? Look, for no other reason than Filch is a thief, right? Something shiny, Filch will take it. Filch is a thief that has aerial ability to fly. I think the idea with Legacy United was, hey, why don't we try and include characters from different iterations? Of course, Filch would come from RID 2015, I believe, or Cyberverse. I think RID 2015. And we don't have a lot of nods to RID 2015. And while she's actually a Corvicon and part of that group of crows, you know, a crow, a bird, a thief, I mean, the whole personality really does fit with Thundertron and the Star Raiders. And why not include her? You know what? It helps bulk out the crew and it gives them some aerial attack ability. Filch takes the number 4 slot. Number 3 is Farak. And Farak is a great addition. I'm actually going to be reviewing this guy tomorrow, so I'll talk a little bit more about Farak there. But not even long story short, the thing really to note here is that he's a tinkerer. He's like the wheeljack of the Star Seekers, right? Intelligent, brutal, comes up with a lot of weaponry, but also has built certain crew members, certain characters like Pillage and Plunder, for example, who are more like target masters, right? Very intelligent, very brutal, very skilled. A lot like the Cyclonus body type, a lot like Cyclonus. But Farak just takes it a little bit further by being a little more vicious and a little rough around the edges. What's not to like about the resident tinkerer, weapons maker of the Star Seeker, Star Raider crew? Farak takes the number 3 slot. Coming in at number 2, we have the captain of the aligned continuity, as well as the recent Legacy United version of Thundertron. Thundertron, known to be quite a swordsman. I've often sort of talked about his background a bit, where apparently his planet was like cut off, if you know the Aligned novels, and I'm very much paraphrasing here. But basically his planet was cut off when the space bridges were closed to stop the spread of the Rust Plague. His world basically like ran out of resources and kind of died. He became very bitter and hates all Cybertronians because of it and seeks revenge on them, building his crew aboard the tidal wave along the way. Very dynamic character. He can stand toe-to-toe with the best of them. Throw an Optimus his way. Throw a Scourge his way. Throw a Megatron his way. He will stand toe-to-toe with them all. There's also a Prime, and I can't remember his name now because it's in Japan, though I've talked about it before, and I talked about it in his review, that is basically like this guy, except his coloration, instead of being blue, is green. And again, known to be a Prime that is a Prime of Beasts, a Prime of Pirates, and a Prime of, I can't remember what his name is now, it's really eluding me. But it's this guy, and he's just as much of a swordsman as this guy is. The difference being that when that Prime uses his sword, and I think I think his thing is like the Black Legends disc. Like, he kind of hurts himself and takes away his life energy. It's a really dynamic Prime. I wish I could remember his name now to tell you guys. Nevertheless, this guy is tremendous. Whether you have this one, whether you have the Transformers Prime version, and a lot of people said, why was there a Transformers Prime version? Because the Star Seekers were supposed to have a whole story arc in Season 3 until Season 3 got cut down to 13 episodes. So that's why he was initially made. I love this version. If you like the 3-pack version with the lighter blue and the altered head, that's cool too. I think it's a great captain. He's somebody that I look at and I'm like, yeah, I'd follow this guy because he looks strong. He carries himself strong. He has what seems like the tails of a regal jacket and the big shoulders of a regal jacket. I buy this guy as a captain. Thundertron takes the number 2 slot. But you see, then we come to the very tippy top number 1. And number 1 is none other than, and this guy had to be on the list, Cannonball. Cannonball is like the poster child, if you will, for the Star Seekers. When you think Star Seekers, the first name that should come to mind is Cannonball. He's had a couple of iterations of himself back in 2006 as part of Cybertron, that line. Again, released in, I think this might have been using a Combiner Wars mold, possibly, as like a BotCon Collectors Club type of exclusive. And now, recently, part of the Legacy United line. And not for nothing, when I done the review on this guy, I lamented that his chest didn't lock in and had the same problems that we had with Crankcase and Medics. But actually, I was wrong. Listen. Hear that snap? It actually does lock in. I wish the other two did. In most continuities, certainly the Winged Universe, where the Star Seekers are really fleshed out, he is a captain. Even at times there are other like iterations of him. Like there's Cannonball the 3rd, Cannonball the 4th, Cannonball the 5th. They're all captains. Even Starscream, or Ghost Starscream, has the idea that I can take over this body and use it and get them to follow me for a little while, which he does. Even Flame War ends up wearing like his head as a helmet and talking more like him, and even makes the claim that one day she will use the name Cannonball. Think of it like the Wreckers. A lot of people know that like Ultra Magnus has led the Wreckers, and you know what? He's a great leader. But when you think of the Wreckers and you think of the leader, well, some might even say Springer, most would say, hey, the first one was Impactor. The greatest one was Impactor. Same thing here. While Thundertron is probably the most fitting leader, I think a lot of people would say the original, and probably the best, certainly the most pirate-like, would have to be Cannonball. And that's why he takes the number 1 slot. That's it. We've gone from 10 down to 1 once again, my friends. And other ones that had votes but did not appear on the list. And I want to do this as a service to people that aren't aware of just how many Star Seekers there actually are. Cosmos. Yes, Cosmos in some continuities is a Star Seeker. Brimstone, who was a gunner on the ship. Skytread. There were some votes for Tidal Wave, but I think a lot of people thought that the Titan or the Unicron Trilogy Tidal Wave is the ship that Thundertron uses. It's not, but I think it should have been, so I kind of accepted it. Sandstorm, yes, the Autobot Sandstorm. Other ones, though, that didn't have votes but are Star Seekers. Bilge, Neurotoxin, Star Dasher, Tornado, who else? Famine, Eclipse, Gallows, Guillotine, Vez, Tornado, if I didn't already say it. Pillage, Plunder. As a matter of fact, my plan is to repurpose the mouthless bludgeon into Pillage. I think, or is it Plunder? I can't remember which one I'm repurposing it into. Hold on, I'm going to tell you now which one I'm repurposing that into. Plunder. And the reason I'm repurposing it into Plunder is because Plunder was built by Farak, and Plunder is really by rights a little target master that's sort of a greeny, tealy type of color, and I'm like, the green that's on this bludgeon, that could kind of work. And he turns into a tank, which is a form of a target blaster thing, right? Yeah, it's a huge stretch, but it's a way that I'm going to justify. Plus, I have another bludgeon to work on my Mayhem Attack Squadron already with the Hunt for the Decepticons. So this mold, this version of bludgeon, is able to work great as another member of the crew, a full-size member of the crew. Why did I choose Plunder over Pillage? Because Pillage, though also a target master made by Farak, is more of like a white grayish color. So it didn't even match the colors, right? Olin Zarek has been a member. Navigator has been a member. And I already talked about the Dread Pirate Crew member. So yeah, there's actually been a ton of Star Seekers. Maybe you learned something a little new here. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you knew them all along. But those pirates are certainly dangerous. Did your favorite make the list or not? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring or Course. Hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you are at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around and have some fun with us here on the channel. And please, don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way right here inside the videos.